Ooh.
All right, we on.
All right. So we got Cole back. So we fired Enzo. The audio, I guess, was horrible. Enzo's a horrible engineer mixer.
Everyone was complaining about it. It sounded fine for me, but I wasn't using earphones. Maybe that's the thing.
I don't really know, and I don't really care. I'm upset that we got Cole back because if I pay Enzo to produce the podcast, I can cut down on allowance.
Yes, and it's child labor, and this is literally a sweatshop.
Yeah.
If you turn off the air, which I would recommend doing, and you have a child working for you, it's quite literally a sweatshop.
Yeah, well, you're not going to allow a child to
air conditioning? Yeah.
Like, they'll be fine. What do you got going on? Anything good?
Nope, nothing good. Nothing good at all, actually. The world's horrible. Nothing good.
The world's horrible. Maui's burning, which, if you guys can see, this is my Hawaii coffee cup. It's Haleva, which is not Maui, but that's crazy. Have you been paying attention to all that craziness?
A little bit. I was just in Hawaii, so I'm glad that I missed it, and it's horrible for everything that's going on, and man, I've got to feel for those people.
People were jumping out of their car, running into the ocean, of course. I mean, it's there 7-9 hour times in like wavy, windy, crazy, bad condition water because the entire island facing you is on fire. It's
wow.
Insane.
Well, I saw that Jeff Bezos made a $100 million donation. So I personally would like to match that donation.
Okay. Interesting. I need to borrow $100 million, Brandon. Can you help me out?
No, just for charity.
Okay. Charity purposes. You did a contender with Pierce.
Yes, we did. Sorry, guys, for the first week. First week was weird. He was. I told him I was ready to go. I was locked and loaded probably a week ahead of time. And then he was like, not yet. And then we just couldn't quite find a time. And then he ended up shooting one himself on his own channel. And I was like, dude, I was ready for you this whole time. But honestly, it's probably okay because obviously Junior is fight ready, close to home. I trained with him on Monday before that fight, so like a week out.
Yeah.
And then Almeida was at fight ready for a long time. So a little bit close to home on a few of those. So.
Yeah. What's the kid's name that beat Junior Talbot? Peyton Talbot.
Born to shit, forced to wipe. Great tag.
What?
That's his caption on Twitter.
Is it really?
Born to shit, forced to wipe.
Interesting. I mid-fight, hats off to him. Great for performance.
Yeah,
just as tough as it gets. Like mid-fight, I actually covered my microphone and I leaned over to Eddie Cha, who's cornering with me, and I said, this kid's out of his fucking mind. He just is walking forward. I have never seen anybody give such little regard to the person standing next to them as I did in that fight. It was kind of wild. And at one point, Talbot is hitting Junior. So Junior, like if Junior's in front of me and I'm Peyton, and then down to my like left is me and Eddie right in our corner. Peyton is hitting Junior, and the dude mid punch points at me and Eddie, but at me, and is like, "This is your boy." Boom, and just it keeps hitting Junior, just pointing at me and then swinging. And I was like, "Man, this kid is just tough." I mean, just like you don't see that. Then my second thought was, leave me out of this. Like, don't start pointing at me. Like
you're gonna have to get in next.
Yeah, I'm over here. Like, hey, look, dude, I'm cornering on the outside. You're fighting Junior on the. This is between you and him right now.
You guys address this.
Yeah, you guys have to handle this on your own. But and then mid fight, he's talking to Dana. Mid fight, he was just walking toward Junior, talking to him. He was like, "This is your last shot." I mean, it was like, dude, the kid was gangster. And hats off to him. Like that is the mentality that it takes.
Can one of you guys go through and watch the fight and then tell us what what the time is of him pointing at Santino, if that's possible?
Yeah, like that was wild. So
I didn't see him talking at all. So that's
he
weird.
Was there. Oh, you see him talking to Junior mid fight.
Wow.
He was saying something to Dana. Like there's just like I haven't watched the fight back, and camera angles are weird. Who knows like what? But like at one point. Like we were facing, Junior was on my left and Peyton was on the right, and they were like walking, and I could just see his mouth moving. I don't know where the camera was at that time. I mean, it was just crazy to see somebody. I mean, you hear people talking, but I've never really seen that before.
It was funny. I heard somebody say they're like, I wonder if he like really doesn't care about MMA so much that he's just going to ride this out as far as his talent will take him and then say, I don't give a shit anymore and just quit.
I don't know. He actually, before he went out, like right before we did the walk, they do the interviews and stuff, and they do the promos and stuff. And I was watching him, and I actually had the thought, I said, we are fighting C-Rod again. Like, just like, what a weird thing, because he fought two guys that just don't get frazzled. They don't get tired, and they don't panic, and they're just so calm. And that was this kid. I mean, Junior looked great the first round, great the first minute into the second round, but we knew we needed 2 perfect rounds, like the first. And then the third round, we knew that Talbot was still going to be there, and he wasn't going to be tired, and he'll still keep going. And we needed to do enough to not lose that round so badly that we got finished, or that it was a 10-8 or something like that. But we kind of knew round 1 would look like round 1, but we needed Junior to not waste so much energy. We told him, hey, when you take him down, you're going to take him down, relax, breathe, don't put too much into it, because the kid, as we saw, he didn't get tired and he's super calm. And so we knew that was going to happen. We got 6 minutes of what we needed. We needed another 2 or 3 minutes to win that second round of what we got, and then just survive in the third, just considering the stylistic matchup and where it goes.
Control. Control, I think, is like that. Like I say all the time, it's the lost art. Junior can wrestle. I mean, he's what, a 2-time state champion?
I believe he's a 3-time state champion.
3-timer. But all that's for naught when a guy like Peyton, who doesn't give a shit, wasn't as near as good as a wrestler as Junior, just says, whatever, I'm just going to stand up anyways.
Well, we talk about it all the time. Wrestling is great for the takedown, but jiu-jitsu is better for the control. And you see jiu-jitsu guys, when they get on top, they generally have better success than wrestlers. And this is a complete generalization. So like and
then there's some guys that blend the two.
At a medium level, I would say, at a medium wrestling level to a medium jiu-jitsu level, the jiu-jitsu level guys kind of control the ground better. Of course, at the higher level, it's individualized and stuff.
Well, the best example I always give is Lupita Godinez and Verna Jandiroba, right? Jandiroba can't wrestle nearly as good as Lupi can, but her control is a million times better. We saw that both against Angela Hill, and even a guy on this card. He's one guy that's a rare guy that can blend the two very well, is Petroski, right? He wrestles at a pretty high level, but his jiu-jitsu also is at a pretty high level, which is interesting.
Just talking about Petroski really quickly, as I was doing tape on this, I was watching the Gerald Meerschaert fight with Piper. And we're always high on those Philly boys, but I'm always high on the Philly boys with their cage grappling. And then I'm looking at Piper, and I was just like, God, I love that gym. I love that camp. Like, you've got Piper, and I don't know what his boxing background is prior to. I'm assuming he probably did something before he got to them. But just having him there and just that toughness and that whole camp, I just think is one of the best there is right now. So
one last thing. Well, first of all, Contender this year got such good prospects. I think this is one of the better years that we've seen. Even this weekend coming up, George Hardwick, who's, man, I think he's one of the best guys in the world. And, he could lose, but I still think he's amazing. Smotherman's cool. Like, there's some guys that are coming down the line that are super good on this season. So, man, it was fun. I'm glad you got to go week 1.
That's week 1 was crazy. We got a couple weeks coming up. We have Casey Tanner fighting in September. I think it's 12th is the date on that. So Casey Tanner's on. He's phenomenal. So I'm excited for that.
Casey's so cool. And you know what? I heard that's going to be a really good fight. Man, Casey's got the style, I think, to beat almost anybody. But I heard his opponent's a very, very, very good striker. So it should be a really good fight.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Let's get into this card. We've got Suga Sean O'Malley with Aljamain Sterling. Before we do, you guys, subscribe to the channel. Please comment. We love chatting with you guys. Don't be a dick in the comments. But comment, and you don't have to agree with us. Like, I love talking even when we don't agree. But I was respectfulness. And then of course, check out the Patreon, check out the Discord. I think I went 9 out of 10 last week on the UFC. The only one I got wrong was RDA. I thought he was going to win, and man, Luque looked great. But check out the Patreon, check out the Discord. It's $25 a month. And you're getting Contender stuff. You're getting UFC picks. You're getting regional stuff. NASCAR. Come holla. Let's get into it. Let's see. First, so actually, I didn't tape the first 2 fights only because the first one was Maryna Moroz and Karine Silva. So you guys know I didn't tape that. But the tournament thing, I didn't know as I was taping stuff. Was this set yet? Is this the first fight of the night? Like, the way that it was on actually Tapology, it threw me off. And so I didn't know, is that confirmed or what is going on with that?
Yeah, no, that's confirmed. It's
okay. I have not been paying attention to The Ultimate Fighter. So then when I saw it, I was like, oh crap, what's going on here? So just the way it worked out. I do know both of these guys well. Is this a very first fight of the night? Are they gonna mix it? Do you know how they're gonna present that?
No, I have no clue, but I can't imagine that the tournament finale is going to be the curtain jerker for
right
Maryna Moroz.
Yeah, so I didn't know what was going on with that. All right, give us your thoughts on that. I'll throw mine in a second.
I actually don't have thoughts on it. I know Hubbard is a pretty good generalist. He's a good, tough kid, does a lot of things well. A lot of people were pretty low on him for a long time, and I like Austin Hubbard. I think he's a grinder. He's a good guy. I am not familiar with Holobaugh, and I didn't want to go through the Ultimate Fighter film to watch all the recent stuff. So if you have opinion on this one, I'm sitting out on this pick.
You want to know what's funny? That's one of the reasons, as well. Holobaugh he's 0-4 in the UFC. He's lost to all of the guys. He went to a decision with Thiago Moises, of course, which is solid. He lost armbar to Shane Burgos, which definitely isn't something you see often. Lost to Raoni Barcelos. So again, he's losing to the good guys. But then you have Austin Hubbard, who is and Holobaugh, actually, just going back to him really quickly, I just want to look at his age. I think he's
36. Yep.
36. So he's an older guy, and he's come up short every time he's done anything. And Austin Hubbard is tough. He's a tough guy. He was probably set up against some guys with too good of skills his first time in the UFC.
Yeah.
Fought Mark Madsen, an Olympic silver medalist, and then Max Roshkoff, who he won, but really just Homer Simpson.
Yeah,
Roshkoff.
pretty much.
So again, I haven't been watching Tough, you guys, so take that with a grain of salt. Uneducated, I would assume Hubbard is probably a solid bet here. But again, do your own film. And I'll actually, now that I've asked you and I've actually talked with some stuff, I will do a full write up on this and I'll put on the Discord, you guys. And then, as I do, I'll do the whole analysis. So I'll actually do one of these just after the fact. So let's get to, do you have any thoughts on Maryna Moroz and Karine Silva before we move on?
Yeah, I do. I've seen a lot of love for Maryna Moroz this week, and I like it. But take that with a grain of salt as well, because I'm the biggest Karine Silva hater of all time. I wanted to go back and watch her early film to just see if I was a little bit jaded in what my previous thoughts of her were. Pardon me. And I don't necessarily think that I am, but twofold. One, a lot of early film that we see on people is a lot different from how they perform in the UFC.
Very.
Two, I think she's got a very good doctor, Silva.
Oh, okay.
Her physique, her body has changed, and she's jacked up now. She's shredded. She's jacked up. Still the same weight, but she's completely different. I don't like her style. I don't like the submission, play off your back, grind out rounds from the bottom, throw a Hail Mary sub kind of style. And then two, it seems like she can't put together complete 15 minutes, right? She gets really tired after one round. So, man, I ate it on Botelho. What's her name?
Myra.
No, Botelho, whatever. The first girl that she fought in the UFC. I actually lost her on Contender Series. I chose the little Asian chick. And then the last fight, I chose the other Brazilian girl, thinking that she could avoid it. And every time she's killing me. At some point, I got to stop the bleeding, but I'm going to take Maryna Moroz here.
Okay.
Boxing, top game. But honestly, the main part of this for me is just cardio. Willing to put together a 15-minute fight. I think she's got fine enough jiu-jitsu, especially top game, to avoid a lot of the submissions. But man, did you see the leg lock she hit in the last fight?
No, I don't think I did.
I think it was one of those cross body, like when you do the foot lock. I think she went across the other side, and it was a beautiful, beautiful submission. She broke the girl's knee. Crazy.
Oh yes, I did. Yeah.
Where she sat to it, and then it was like a weird thing, and then it just stopped. And we're like, whoa.
Yep. I didn't realize that was that. So yeah. Yep. The Ketlin Souza, that was insane.
Yeah.
You just see her knee like snap out. That was weird.
Not good. I like Maryna Moroz here, guys. I don't hate that. One of these days, I'm going to be right betting against Karine Silva. I think this is a solid spot, a solid girl. Although I know they're trying to build up Silva, so maybe she's got better cardio than I imagine, or better decision making. But for now, I always have to choose a person: better fight IQ, better cardio, better gym, better everything.
Okay. There you have it, folks. Next up, we have Andrea, KGB Lee, and Natalia Silva. And man, Silva's good. I mean, she moves well. She's in and out. She has that karate kind of taekwondo stance. Lots of lateral movement. Likes her kicks. First of all, I was rewatching film, and that spinning heel kick right as what's her name?
Teresa Bleda.
Right as she shot right into the face. I knew that happened, and it caught me off guard. And then I watched it like 5 times in a row, and I was like,
We were in the back for that one. We were walking out next after that.
Who was that? Was that Vanessa?
We were cornering Vanessa when she fought the monkey girl.
Brutal. Oh my gosh, that was wild. Anyway, she's got good hips. What I like about her in defensive wrestling is people will shoot on her hips, and she does all the right stuff. I mean, she's shoving the head, she's going chest wrap, but as she's scooting her hips out, she's digging under hooks and wiggling and moving. When she gets put on her back, she's a little stationary for my liking for a little bit too long. I don't think she's much of a jiu-jitsu threat. And her hands, although she throws and sticks her punches well, I don't find a ton of power in it. I don't think she's gonna knock KGB out. Then on the other side of that, we have Andrea Lee, who I know myself. I have always underestimated her abilities.
By a lot. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because it's an awkward style that it's almost like Dreykus Duplessis. It's awkward and it looks like it shouldn't work, and then you expect it not to work, but it works. But Andrea Lee is tall. She's really long. She has such a high guard that I wish she would I actually wish she would pull away from that high guard and use a longer frame guard, and then because that would make it harder for shorter fighters to find their way inside on her. And we saw that with Macy Barber, where when she was jabbing and when she was using that front kick of hers, it would keep her away, but she would shell up so much that it allowed Macy to just kind of blitz her without any recourse. But I think probably the most underrated area of Andrea Lee's game is her grappling and her control. She took Macy Barber down with ease multiple times.
Yep.
Body lock, controlled it. And honestly, I think we picked Macy Barber for that fight. Watching it, I thought Andrea Lee won.
I think most of the world did. And
then as I rewatched it, I knew that Macy Barber won. And I was like, man, this could easily be 30-27 KGB.
Oh, yeah, easily.
Andrea Lee, I think last time I looked, was like plus 275 here against Natalia Silva. And I think that is insane. I think she's going to win this fight. And I think it's going to be her grappling that does it. I think she is going to get a hold of Silva. And I think that's it. I don't think she's going to Silva's got to knock her out and really beat her up and keep her away the whole time. And I think if Andrea Lee could make this a very easy fight, not like she's just going to starch her, but very convincing on the scorecards, if she would open her hands a little bit more volume with her jab, and then just mixing her grappling. I like KGB here for the upset, and I'm shocked to see her as such a dog.
Wow. Well, the entire community is about to come after you and tell you how stupid you are and how much of an idiot you are in the comments.
Go for it.
But you know what? You've done this a lot, and you've been right a lot of times about these kind of things. Even the Ferguson one the other week was actually looking good until it wasn't.
Yeah.
And we knew that was going to be a closer fight. I wanted to come, and I thought I was going to be crazy for saying I think this fight is closer than what people are thinking it will be. I still think Natalia wins. I think the UFC knows clearly what they're doing, and it wasn't too long ago that we were like, does Andrea Lee even want to be in there? Right? She was quitting against Araujo. The thing with Araujo is, okay, a couple things I want to say. So one, if Natalia Silva fought that, who's the girl that just fought Teresa Bleda? The big Gabby Fernandez.
Yeah.
That to me is a very competitive fight. And not because Natalia Silva's not the goods and she's amazing, but it's styles make fights, and she's not offensively grappling. So that's just leaving us, she's a sprawl and brawler, kickboxer, in and out kind of style. That's a lot closer fight. KGB, the grappling, I think, makes things interesting, right? She has better control, and she fills the space with volume. She's always filling with volume. She's throwing front kicks. She's throwing punches that are just like weird. And like you said, they don't look like they should be effective, but they are. Natalia is so fast and dynamic, and she zips in and out, but she always does it with her chin up. She is a lot smaller than Andrea. Maybe we'll see this at the weigh-ins because I took pictures with Silva, and I thought she was a 115er. She's strong, but she's short.
Yep.
It's hard to describe. I think she's in the wrong weight class, to be honest with you. I think
so.
It'd be a tougher cut for her, but I think not that she would be more successful, because maybe that's her whole thing is cardio.
But she would be size-wise more in line with the rest of the division than she is now.
Yeah, KGB is an inch shorter than me, while Silva's probably 2, 3, 4 inches shorter than me. It's just a very big size difference. And the way that KGB fills the space. Now, the reason that I'm still on Natalia is when she stops filling that space, KGB, she kind of freezes and lets people tag off on her. And you said that with the high guard, and she lets people get off on her. I think volume for volume, it's going to be very close. And KGB can win a lot of these rounds by mixing in grappling, mixing in front kicks, filling that space. But those big moments, the big times, the big things are going to be on the side of Silva. So I think, honestly, if we don't think this is going to be a finish, which who knows, could or could not be.
Neither of these girls are massive finishers.
Victoria Leonardo is a tougher than a $2 steak, and Silva finished her. So I don't really know. I think it should go to decision.
Yeah, but Victoria Leonardo is tough in the traditional sense of tough, but she's not overly skilled.
She doesn't throw anything back.
Yeah, there's nothing coming back.
Yeah.
And then Bleda just like death gassed. I mean, it was like literally just shot into the face of into the foot. Like, I think if those fights play out another 99 times, they're decisions.
Yeah, no, I understand. I think a good play on this one would be the KGB spread.
Okay.
I think she can take off one round.
Yeah.
In a kind of a hairy decision. I know the whole world's going to be on Silva. I think Silva wins, but I think this is a closer fight than is anticipated.
Here's the thing. So we have KGB, and we'll move on after this. KGB arguably beat Macy Barber. She just didn't get the judge's call. All right. Natalia beat Jasmine Jastovicius, who just could not move laterally against
too
her.
Big, too slow.
Yeah, just it was a zombie marching at you. And then Teresa Bleda, and then Victoria Leonardo. Andrea Lee is she's been fighting the best of the best for a long time.
Yeah.
And she's winning and losing split decisions, so don't get me wrong there.
And they don't like Brazilians. It's extra motivation.
Like Brazilians, yeah. Man, I'm big on the KGB train on this one, and people can hate me for it, and maybe she loses. I look like an idiot, but I like it.
It's funny. People are going to flame you for that, but every week they go, with women's MMA, it's dog or pass every single time, and then you're going to pick the dog, and they're going to go crazy over it.
Yeah. Next up, we got Joe Meerschaert and Andrea Petroski.
I don't think there's a lot of thinking on this one. I've been against GM3 every single time. I think he used to be a lot better, but his chin is up. He looks unmotivated. He's super slow. His grappling is not as good as people think that it is. I think a lot of times he's catching these guys that are dog tired and submitting them Hail Marys. We just talked about it. Petroski's cardio, I'm sorry, not his cardio. His wrestling is really good. His jiu-jitsu is phenomenal. He's one of the few guys that blends the two. His striking is dangerous, right? He throws those big overhands just to cause something, right? Get you thinking about it, level change into shots. This is a setup spot for Petroski. The only thing that I could see being an issue historically is the cardio, and GM3 will stick around, and while people, blow their load, and then he'll finish late. But honestly, I think Petroski has calmed down. I think he's understood his issues since he's had those problems. And you see him looking dog tired, but he always pushes it later in the fight. He's still blasting takedowns, still fighting for top position. I think this is Petroski all day here.
Yeah, I was curious to see your thoughts on that, because that's the thing is Petroski gets tired and GM3 stays there long enough for people to get tired and shoot on his neck. Yeah. And so, it's one of those things where this is something that you might mess with some live stuff. If you see but if you see after round one, Petroski almost puts GM3 away, and then he survives, and then you start seeing it there's some play there.
I just don't think GM3 has great cardio either.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying I'm on the GM3 train at all, but it's one of those things where we say Petroski because that is the intelligent thing. That's what the tape says. But then he looks great until a minute left in the third round and gets submitted, and we're like, he did it again. You know what I mean? So it's So there's one of those things that it could happen. So I think you're right. I think Petroski, he will switch stances. And when he switches stance, he actually comes in with that right hook, which I think is going to be an issue for GM3 because opposite stance, Petroski isn't a huge middleweight. I think he's going to have a hard time finding GM3 in that stance. So I think he's going to end up switching southpaw quite a bit. I think he's going to end up landing the lead right hook quite a bit as he does switch stances. And then it really just comes down to him wrestling without getting guillotined. You know, and that is really it. Petroski's jiu-jitsu is very good. His wrestling is very good. I think he is good enough that even when he's really tired, I think he's going to understand how tight and dangerous some of those submissions are, and he will spend the energy to flail and get out of it. So I think you're right. I think Petroski is the winner here, but it is still worth keeping your phone open on a live if weird stuff
but
happens.
If you were watching the Dustin Stoltzfus Gerald Meerschaert fight, you'd be in the third round with a live bet on Meerschaert going, this ticket's dead, I'm gonna burn this thing.
Yeah, no, I know, I'm just saying, it's just
he's tired, he's on his back, he looks horrible, and then somehow, some way,
hey, look, I'll say Petroski wins this, but like everybody beats Meerschaert until he ends up winning. So it's just one of those crazy things.
Yeah.
Don't go crazy on Meerschaert. But Meerschaert looked really bad his last fight.
He looked really bad for a while.
No, but even in the
only the Silva fight, you looked fine.
The Silva fight, and we said Silva looked really bad in that fight. But even then, Meerschaert looked human and awake in that Pfeiffer fight. Just right from the minute, he was so like slow and lumpy. He looked bad. He looked like he's really slowed down quite a bit. So. All right, next up we have Gregory Rodrigues and Denis Tiuliulin. Man, it's this one. I mean, Gregory Rodrigues is so much faster. He is so much more athletic. He from range, he snipes that jab. He snipes his cross. His kicks are good. I mean, his cardio. He does everything well. He got knocked out by Jordan Williams. He got chinned by Iron Turtle. And who else? Oh, and then his last fight, he lost. Do you know what? The same strike, all three of those fights.
What was it?
Left hook. That guy gets hit with left hooks. Never straights, never anything. It is always a left hook. Even against Turtle threw a right hand, and then the left hook just barely clipped him behind him, sent him down. Williams, it was a left hook. Against Ferreira, it was Bruno Ferreira, right? Is that the last? He threw a right hand, switched stances, threw another right hand, and then it's kind of a left overhand because it was southpaw stance, but it was the left coming from that same angle. And I was looking at this, and I'm like, why is it? Why is that always what is hitting him? And the way that he hangs his head, it's like, if you guys can see me for video, you guys can see me, but he's really square in his stance, but he hangs his head so low and he tucks his chin, but the outside of his arm is always open. And like, if Tiuliulin would just watch some film, like just
good luck.
Flurry and finish every combination with left hooks, and you're going to put Gregory Rodrigues away. But then you watch Tiuliulin, the dude just is ones and twos down the middle. He will fire in the pocket and he will exchange well. I think his wrestling is actually better than a lot of people think it is. And I remember you saying that when he fought Turtle, you're like, no, he does the right stuff wrestling. And I argued you on that. I'm like, yeah, but Turtle shoots to the back. And so that's not necessary.
And that's exactly how it happened.
Yes. And Rodrigues doesn't do that. Rodrigues will shoot and run through. So I think Tiuliulin will actually defend correctly and go. But I think the speed of Rodrigues and just the overall game, I think he is the better fighter. And I think unless Tiuliulin just brawls him out, and I think Tiuliulin could actually win this. I think Tiuliulin's a lot better than his record shows. I think if Tiuliulin would just brawl him out, he could absolutely win it. But he's got to create an absolute brawl. And that is not necessarily his style. He will brawl in the pocket when he has to, but he's more of a technical boxer. So I think Rodrigues is going to win this. unless he finds his chin, which we've talked about. Can you always count on that? And with some people you can, but I don't know that Rodrigues is going to. It's such a specific way. Like, it's not like it's right hands. It's got to be a left hook. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is a Gregory tee-up spot, right? So Tiuliulin was really nice of them to come in and fight on short notice and stay in the UFC. I made a case for him last time and ended up looking like an idiot. I think he still can wrestle. I think the guy still does have skills, better than his record, like you said. One thing that Gregory does a little different than a lot of people, it is blast doubles sometimes, but a lot of times too, he lifts that high leg and sweeps and trips from underneath.
Kick.
Yep. And he does a lot of judo throws. Which is a little different. I think Tiuliulin is really good at defending double legs, single legs, traditional wrestling, but exactly like you said, turtle, cut to the back. I think Gregory does a lot of trips, a lot of different stuff, and he's huge, right? So he'll be able to lift that leg, get him down. God, I just wish Gregory would grapple. So many of his issues would be so gone. He thinks he's a striker now. He thinks he's, Kill Cliff and Henry Hooft, and I got to strike and show everybody this. I wish he would grapple more. That being said, I think his jabs, his straights, the one thing that we worry about is cardio, but even Tiuliulin looks like he's on death's door with the cardio too. And Gregory will fight through.
Well, Tiuliulin, his first fight in the UFC took short notice.
Yep.
So I actually think he did. So he's 11-7. That was against Kizriev. That was, and he had some moments there. He defended some shots.
Yep.
He got back up. He actually, I don't know if he was credited takedown, but kind of got a takedown, and Kizriev popped back up. I don't know if you'd credit that or not. But he had some moments there. And then against Pickett, Pickett is that's a frustrating human to watch, because on the write-up on the Patreon, I just wrote, for any of you guys out there that read that, it was like, I wanted to fade Fremd, and I wanted to find a way that Jamie Pickett wins that, because I'm not wowed by Fremd, and I could see a world where Pickett would just lean on him and get the cage controller, find his way on top, and just eke it out. And if that guy, Pickett, had a little bit better fight IQ, he would have stayed on top in the second round, and he would have won that second round.
Yeah.
It was like looking that way, like, oh, Pickett is about to steal this round. Then he goes for an armbar and ends up on his back and dumb and all this stuff.
God, how bad did Fremd look in all that situation?
Fremd looked, and that's my point. Fremd looked horrible. But Pickett is big. He has bad fight IQ, but then he also has good, like, what's the way to frame this? He has a good ability to not take damage. He's like afraid to fight, but he knows how to not get hit and grab you and push you to the fence. So he's athletic, he's long, he's fast. If that guy had just started somewhere with really good coaches, maybe he does have really good coaches and he just doesn't like to listen. But that is I would be frustrated if I was his coach. Because
I don't know if he has good coaches. We heard them in the corner, and even you made a comment about it.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Some of it was very bad. However, that guy is very athletically talented. And anyway, my point was, Tiuliulin didn't get out athleticismed against Pickett, which, he's so much better than him, you wouldn't expect big stuff to happen. But there's no crazy wild moments where you're like, oh man, Pickett almost something.
Yeah, I understand.
And then of course he did what he needed to do and finish him and look good. I do think Tiuliulin is good. I think most of his wins are against very 0-1 guys in Russia. I think Gregory is just a little bit too experienced. And so I do think Gregory wins, but geez, somebody watch tape and throw some left hooks.
All right, we'll let him know. We'll have our friend, our Russian friend, let him know.
Done. All right, next up we have Chris Weidman and Brad Tavares. Give me your thoughts on this. I'm sure they're probably pretty limited, as are mine. Go.
Okay. I have been a big Tavares fan for a long time. I like a lot of his skills. He's one of the few Hawaiians, I think, that doesn't get tired after a single round. He can put together 15 minutes. His striking is clean. He's not afraid to step up in the pocket. A lot of things that Brad does well. He's 35. Didn't know he was 35. His last fight really wasn't a good look. It seemed like first of all, he was almost timid and afraid to throw. It was the first time that I've really seen him getting backed up for an entire fight.
And hold on, he was timid and afraid to throw, but then it looked like every time he wanted to throw or anything was even remotely in him, he was like these big counter movements, just showing it so you could see it a mile away.
Yep. And it was the first time where I went like, no, this isn't the guy that I know. This isn't
Yeah.
the guy that I know. Man, yeah, that last fight wasn't a good look. 35 years old. But then I flipped up on the Weidman tape.
Right? And then where do you go with this? A guy with a broken leg who hasn't fought in 20 years and is on death's door of age.
Yeah, he's 39. His striking has always been kind of bad and kind of horrendous. The way that he moves is even just so awkward too.
And it's slow. The spinning back kick against Rockhold, which really lost the.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
His hands are always down. His chin's up. He's slow. He's kind of like doing like the karate weird Wonder Boy stance, but doesn't have any karate at all. He shoots from so freaking far away. Now, once he gets a hold of you and he's actually got you up against the cage, he's fine.
Yeah, he's got old man strength now.
Old man strength. He runs the pipe. Yeah, runs the pipe really well. Man, I think this could be a really frustrating fight. I wanted to just unload on Tavares. I was like, man, that's going to be such a clean spot. And it probably realistically still is. But the second that Weidman can get a hold of him, and he's gonna go through hell getting there. I think he's going to eat a ton of punches getting there. But if he does get a hold of Tavares, he wrestles a little different than a lot of guys that Tavares has fought, where he's not shooting from the outside, trying to take him down that way. Is he'll hold that single, run the pipe.
Run it, yep.
And his jiu-jitsu is good too. He does have good jiu-jitsu, good top game, good control.
But Tavares pops up well and does all the right stuff. Well,
typically
2 years ago he did.
2 years ago, and against guys that are wrestlers, not jiu-jitsu guys. So, man, I still think Tavares wins. I mean, you just look at it, speed, recent competition, not being 40 years old and not having a broken leg and coming back for the first time, probably training partners at Extreme Couture. Like, everything tells me Brad Tavares. I think Brad Tavares is going to win. I think that Weidman could make this fight very, very annoying by just hanging on him, grappling with him, even though, like, God, our champions today are very different than our champions of yesterday.
Right.
In this world, imagine Weidman coming up now. Do you think he'd ever sniff gold?
No, I don't think so.
He's beating Izzy ever?
Yeah. No, I don't think it's even close. I think you pretty much said it. Like, the Weidman that we knew was not 2 years ago. It was 7 years ago. It was 8 years ago. He's coming off.
And even then, was he as good as we ever thought that he was?
I don't know that he was. I think he was a stylistic fighter that made the best of his
and he beat
skills
old
in his matchups.
Guys.
Yes. And then now, like, what do you he beat an overly confident Anderson Silva, who is old as well.
Lyoto.
He beat Lyoto. And then, like, you've got Tavares on the other side, who is aged and has not looked great. But again, Weidman, how do you even look at him at this point? To me, betting wise, this is a fight you just don't even touch. I don't know that it's worth it.
No, I think Tavares.
What are the odds on it? I guess if the odds were close enough or good enough on the Tavares side, you take Tavares. But other than that, like.
Yeah, sorry guys, we got dead air here.
Yeah, we're just trying to pull up some odds. But I mean, like, gosh, you would love to see Tavares as like a
minus 260.
Minus 260. I don't know that there's. I think if you're gonna go Tavares, you've got to go Tavares inside the distance, hoping that he chins him to make the odds better, because it's just such a weird fight that I hate even looking or talking about fights when people have been out for a long time. Like, I don't even know
out
why.
For a long time, old. Like, every factor has gotten worse, and I think the game of MMA has evolved.
Yeah.
And even though Brad is 35, like, he's got a good style.
He's in there, and he's been training with guys who are young, who are still in the gym doing the stuff. So I think you're right. I think it's a Tavares fight. I don't even like it because my love for Tavares of old is gone. Weidman is old. Like, it's just
these are guys from New York.
Yeah. Not anymore. Now he's South Carolina boy.
Okay. All right.
What
do we got next?
We've got Marlon Vera and Pedro Munhoz.
Okay, do you want me to go on this one?
Go for it.
I really, really, really wanted to like Munhoz here, especially recency bias, right? Him winning that last fight. I really, really wanted to like Munhoz here. Two things. One, I think that I thought Gutierrez was going to smoke him. Didn't end up being that way. And you watch the fight, it's so much lateral movement. No one ever pressed. No one stayed in the pocket. No one swung on him. Every time that Chris did throw hands, he was landing on him. He was stopping him right in his tracks, and Munhoz was missing. He had a lot of good movement, but he played a leg kick game with him. He played a point leg kick game.
And, Gutierrez, nobody knows how to check a kick and fire kicks back. and Munhoz checked a kick and fired kicks back, and that just shut Gutierrez down.
Yeah. And it's funny because when Munhoz doesn't have his low kick, he's shut down also. We saw that in the Jose Aldo fight. Yep. The second that Jose starts checking kicks and you can't reach him, his whole game was gone. What does he have left? All he has is a big overhand and a low kick. I like betting against Chito. I don't know why. I've just never liked Chito's game. He stays on his back too long. He's low volume. He does so many things I don't like, but I think first of all, he's huge.
He's massive.
He's a massive bantamweight. Munhoz struggles with length like that. And then 2 is he's no bitch. He steps up in the pocket and he's willing to throw and he's willing to put hands in your face. This is from the most biased thing possible, right? I always like to bet against Chito, but the way that he steps in the pocket, the way that he's willing to fight, and he throws hands and they're clean and they're straight and he meets you head on and he's not moving laterally and running away the whole time. That was enough for me to say that I think Chito's going to win this fight.
100%. Munhoz needs, you said it, the low kick to really go. Chito checks kicks.
And he switches stances.
But more than that, he just presses. And so how do you stop a kicker? You press them. You press the pocket, put them on their heels. And that right there is going to do just, a lot for him. Then you add that he strikes. Of course, he's throwing, going forward. But then elbows and knees in the pocket. You get near that guy, and he's mean as shit. And he's only 30 years old. He's been in the UFC for like 30 years, and he doesn't even turn 31 until December.
Someone needs to find his birth certificate.
I think 35, 36-year-old Munhoz is going to have a hard time with the massive giant of Vera, who is going to be mad. He's going to be hungry. He's going to press. The only thing that Munhoz can kind of hope for in this is it's almost guaranteed that Vera loses round 1. He just doesn't.
I don't know that he's going to here, though.
No, I'm not saying that he will, but like it takes him a while to get going.
Yeah.
So then if Munhoz could I assume that Vera will win round 1 against Munhoz, but if Munhoz is going to win, it's going to be if he's going to win a round, it's going to be round 1. And so you almost hey, you've got to take advantage of that ability to win. And then maybe he could steal out some other moments. And I'm not saying he does, but that's a best path to victory for him is to redline the gas from the get-go and then try to keep some of that momentum. Almost like what we were talking about with Junior Cortez. You got to win round 1 and then you have to win enough of round 2 before he really starts putting it on and getting going. I like Vera here, and I think it's probably going to be utter domination.
Wow, utter domination. All right, you guys heard it here first. Is there a bet for that? Utter domination.
Utter domination. Yeah, that's it's on the finish lines right there. So, all right, next up we have Neil Magny and Ian Garry. I'll go on this one. Gary's supposed to fight Jeff Neal. Do you know why Neil pulled out?
Apparently he had something where he wasn't able to train. He wasn't in the gym because I don't know, something like that.
Okay. I was curious. It's just a weird going from 5'9" Jeff Neal to 6, who's a striker who's going to try and knock your head off.
Yeah.
To a 6'2", 6'3" Neil Magny, who's a grappler. It's just such a contrast of styles that I like. Man, just it's apples and oranges right there.
They're both black.
That's where the difference is. And the similarities end right there. And so Ian Garry, his lateral movement's phenomenal. His jab is great. The only thing, and we've said this before, probably every time we've talked about Ian Garry, I've said that chin is just up so damn high.
Tall man defense, chin up.
Gosh, tall man defense, frames, reaches, chin up. He has gotten better and better about the framing and marginally better about the chin up.
Yep.
He's fast. He moves well. Honestly, just his jab alone, his jab and his lateral movement alone, I think are keys to this fight. He'll throw in the pocket. He knows how to win. Magny, we just saw. I think I called him to beat Rowe, but that was a close fight, and that could have gone to Rowe. That was
okay. Not to be racist, I could not figure out who was who in that fight. I just pulled it up in my car, and I'm looking at this thing. Which one's which?
Well, they're the same height, same reach,
same hair,
and they're fighting the same. Which honestly, to Rowe, shame on him for not separating and just throwing a little bit more.
Yeah.
He kept the clinch game going. And if you clinch with Neil Magny, the dude is just going to hang on you and out clinch you. I think this is an Ian Garry fight as long as he doesn't row it and just stay engaged in the clinch. Neil Magny is slow. Man, we've talked about this before. I used to be so high on Neil Magny, and he is so clunky now and awkward, and he just has lost such a step. He's the older guy. I don't think his power and his punches are great. He is long, he is rangy, he is awkward. But I think Ian Garry is going to pick him apart on the outside. I think he is good enough at jiu-jitsu and scrambling to where if something happens and Magny does find his way on top or in a position, I think he's going to be able to defend the takedowns and or submissions enough to like do the right stuff. It really just comes down to, can Ian Garry avoid being pushed up against the fence and clinched? We saw what happened in his last fight. I would assume, regardless of who he was intended to fight, Jeff Neal, I'm assuming that you're just going to go, don't stay on the fence. Don't stay on the fence. As long as you're not on the fence, you win. And so I have to say that I've got to go Ian Garry, that he's going to be smart enough and have a sense of urgency enough to just not fall asleep on the fence and let Neil Magny win some moments. But so I like Ian Garry here quite a bit. I think he's just so loose and fluid on the outside that I think Neil is going to have a really hard time pinning him against the fence. Hopefully that's the case and Garry doesn't stay flat-footed and up against the fence.
You said Neil there, and I was like, he's not fighting Neil. Oh, but then I'm like, wait, he is fighting Neil. So he's still fighting Neil. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is not a close fight for me. I don't think it was going to be a close fight when he was fighting Jeff Neal. Now I don't think it's a close fight when he's fighting Neil Magny. You're right. Maybe presents a little bit more challenges, not even from the danger, right? If anyone's going to chin in between him and Magny, it was Neil, who's got good striking, clean punches. Like, he's a very beautiful striker. But Magny is annoying and kind of hangs out. But man, he's fighting a third kill cliff guy in 4 fights, and he's been submitted in 2 or finished in 2 of them. Like, I don't know. This is not that close of a fight to me. Ian Garry, I think he's got really good fight IQ. His grappling was shown good in Cage Warriors. Mm-hmm. He made a lot of right decisions. His jiu-jitsu is really good in Cage Warriors, and his wrestling has gotten better since he's been in the UFC over at Kill Cliff. I don't think that you have to have amazing takedown defense to be good. I just don't think that's a thing. I think you can get taken down 100 times as long as you pop up quickly after 101. And the other guy's dog tired. Yep. I think that's a horrible. Like, saying someone has no takedown defense. Watch, we're going to see Cameron Smotherman probably going to get taken down on Contenders. I think it means nothing because he'll stand back up, beat his ass, and he's going to win the round or knock him out. I don't see Neil Magny taking him down a ton and not controlling him for the entire time. And I don't think he's winning on the feet. He's too slow. He's too old. Man, you watch Ian Garry. His striking just looks like it's just next level. It's out of this world, crazy good. Man, I'm just saying all kinds of adjectives, anything that I can. But yeah, grab your thesaurus. Run through it. One of these books got something. Let's get the Anarchist Cookbook here. Yeah, I like him. I think it really comes down to what method he's going to win by. Is it decision? Is Neil Magny, a veteran enough to stick around, or is he knocking him out like we saw with D-Rod? I could actually see Neil Magny actually getting finished in this. I could too. I think. Now, there is a world where I see him winning a decision because he gets clipped in chin and just holds on to him and he can push him on the fence. But he's so wide and slow how he throws his punches now. And Ian Garry is so pinpoint and precise. So yeah, I think Ian Garry, this is a don't overthink his spot, but now we decide how it goes. All right, moving on. Co-main. We've got women fighting in Boston. Weili Zhang, Amanda Lemos. What do you got? Chinese super athlete. I think, honestly, Lemos has one shot at this, and it's going to be within 2 minutes. After that, after Weili gets her timing and her speed and starts understanding, can mix in the grappling, I think after that it's wraps. I don't see a problem with Weili winning here. Chinese super athlete, never gets tired, can take a punch, can return one, can grapple, has gotten so much better in every area of MMA the last few years, even where there was holes before. I don't think they're there now. For me, it's Weili, and I'm going to keep it real simple. Yeah, I was trying to find a way that Lemos could win this because she's probably my favorite women's fighter. I love Lemos.
She throws hard. Like, she punches like a man.
Even her guillotines are a little scary.
Yeah, she's like, she does. I love Lemos. I love the way she fights. I love her physicality. I love the way she punches. She throws really good jabs. Like, I mean, just real, like, it's like you're watching a boxer box, the way that she throws.
Yeah.
And in women's MMA at 115 pounds, that is just a delight to watch. Now, Weili throws with power, but I feel like she throws her entire body into every punch. So don't get me wrong, it's powerful and it looks good, all of that stuff. But the way Lemos punches, it's like she's just so fluid as a
sniper.
Yeah. Yes, it's just so clean it's effortless. Where Weili looks like she really has to try to throw all of that to do it. And it's not a knock on Weili or anything. It's just stylistically, I really like Lemos's striking. She's physical. She does a lot of the right stuff. But I think to beat Weili, like you said, you got to first 2 minutes, you got to catch her, or you've got to
wet blanket her.
But even if you watch Rose, like, you need really good footwork, and the footwork was part of it with Rose, and then Rose ended up mixing in the takedowns. And one thing we noticed for like the week I was training Weili before I got kicked out of camp, and I was bringing that up, and everybody always asks, and I never.
Whoa, how did you get out of camp? Yeah.
So before that, I remember she was. I wanted to just see where she was at with everything. One thing I said that Weili needed to do is she needed to roll her head, because she doesn't at all. It's always straight on line, and she blitzes in and blitzes out against taller opponents. She's got to roll her way in and find her exits and go. So that was one thing. And then the other thing that I said was, like, I'm watching her just train, and we'd put her on her back in jiu-jitsu a little bit.
Yeah.
Her jiu-jitsu is good. She was a turtle. She didn't know how to get up. And I said, whoa, this is a big issue.
Yeah.
We need to work some stand-ups. You guys can guess once I was gone if they took that advice or not. Fourth and fifth round. But so we saw that. But I think so. Those are the two big areas with that: is footwork, and then getting the takedowns. Is Lemos going to be able to take her down? I don't think so. I don't know that she will be able to. And then she doesn't really kick. Lemos is right in your face boxing, not lateral moving, inching and going. And so I just find it's a hard fight for her to win outside of a puncher's chance.
2 minutes she has.
Yep. And then comes into play where Weili doesn't get tired. She just keeps going. And then honestly, she's been working with George Hickman quite a bit.
Yep.
The Bang Tao guys. And those guys are solid. Those guys are really good. I like their camp. Those are the guys who have taught Izzy and the city kickboxing guys a lot of their wrestling. They've partnered up quite a bit with them. And so I really like a lot of the coaches that she uses right now. And gosh, I would love to see Lemos get that victory, because I love her style, but I think Weili wins this.
She's like 40 years old too. She's an old lady.
Oh yeah, she is old too.
We forget about that because she's kind of newer on the scene, and
she is like 90, but man, she's
Weili gonna go Icarus.
Yeah. All right, we've got the main event. Before we get to the main event, you guys sign up to the Patreon, like and subscribe to our channel, because why the hell wouldn't you? Do it. I've told you twice now. I can't do it 3 times. We've got Sugar Sean O'Malley and Aljamain Sterling. And honestly, it was a while ago, I think, that we did the first Sean O'Malley breakdown. And one thing that I said is he's got the makings of a superstar. And that was a long time ago. Like, he has that. I compared him to Conor as Conor was coming up. There's just an air about him.
Yeah.
And there really is. Before we get to the fight itself, what do you think of O'Malley in terms of a character, as the star in the face of an organization? Do you like his shtick? Do you like him? Like, what is your take on him separate from a fighter and where he's at?
The funniest part is I don't even think it's a shtick. Like Sean is just a cool ass guy, and that's just always who he's been. Since his days in the LFA, he's just always had a swag about him, and he's just always been like authentic to himself. Now maybe he's played up the smoking thing more, the hair, whatever. But honestly, that's kind of always been Sean, and I think Sean is actually a super, super nice dude. Like, he's just a cool guy. He's like very humble. Like, he is just a cool guy. He's authentic. He just is who he is, and is who he's wanted to be. So
I agree 100%. I like Sean as a human. I don't know him great, but he's an Arizona guy. We've had numerous interactions. I love his coach, Tim Welch. I think he's a solid guy, solid human, solid mind in the game. I was on the way back from Henry's fight with Aljamain. O'Malley and I were sitting next to each other on the flight back. We were just chatting about kids and being a parent and normal life stuff. And he really is just a nice guy. Separate from him being a nice guy, people have to realize what you see on cameras, even if that is O'Malley, it's still a heightened version of people. And I like his stuff. I like it. I liked Conor when Conor was first coming up.
It was no time like it ever.
Right? It was so he was so witty and so clever.
Yeah.
And O'Malley he doesn't have the wittiness and the cleverness of like Conor and that sharp tongue, but he has a swag about him.
Yeah.
And there's a funness about him. And it really is exciting to see so many people. Like I kind of think of like Usman and even Aljamain. Like Aljamain's a very nice human.
But I think he forces it. He could have just been who he
100%.
was.
100%. He just forces it. And not everybody is comfortable on camera, and not everybody has an interesting personality like a Sean O'Malley or a Conor. And you can't do that. And it's sad because we all wish that we were the exciting.
Every champion's that way. Petr Yan was nothing. He's just stone-faced.
Has Petr Yan ever spoken or showed an emotion in his life? Never. Like, I don't think so. Petr Yan, I'm sure I mentioned this on the podcast, you guys. I am not intimidated by humans. Like, I mean, I'm around fighters all day, all of this stuff all the time. I remember we were on a bus going to one of the UFC fights, and a girl came on. I think it was Petr Yan's girlfriend or wife or something, or I don't even know if she was with him, but maybe I just thought she was with him. And she came on, pretty girl, and we all look at her. And then Yan comes on right afterwards, just scowling. I'm like, oh my God, don't
look up. Don't look up.
That dude is like the scariest human I've ever seen him. He's like 5'3", 5'4", like with an army of soldiers with guns on him. If he was like, go away or I'll kill you, I'd be like, hey guys, let's all go away. I think he's good. The dude is frightening as it gets, but he's got the personality of nothing. And you see a Sean. So I like Sean O'Malley. I hope he wins for the sport.
Yep.
Do you have I'll go first. I'll actually talk about it.
Let's hear it.
Because Henry fought Aljamain, and we knew, I don't think Aljamain showed us anything that we weren't necessarily prepared for in this is what he's going to do, this is where we're at situation. I think what went wrong with the Henry fights, first of all, I thought it was a very close fight. I thought Henry won it 3-2, but I could easily see Aljamain winning 3-2. So it wasn't anything crazy, damage and stuff like that. But not even what we didn't account for, we knew it was going to happen. What Henry said actually after the fight was that Aljamain was more awkward than he expected him to be. And we knew he was going to be awkward, and we knew his timing was going to be weird, and we knew his rhythm. Like there's certain people, like I throw a jab at you, you slip, you throw a jab back. There's certain ways, there's a dance to fighting, and there's a certain expectation that occurs. And when I throw a jab at you and you do a backflip onto an axe kick, we're like,
good God, did you watch the boxing fight last weekend that was here?
No, I didn't.
That dude Valdez, who's just a clean, technical, very precise boxer versus Navarrete, whatever. That dude is the most awkward, clunky, weird boxer. Like he almost moves like Tony Ferguson, and he beat his ass because nothing was how Valdez imagined it was going to be. He was never there where he was expecting him to be, couldn't hit the guy. Like it was just, he was so clunky and awkward that it just worked for him.
And that sometimes, like think about Tony Ferguson in his heyday when he was actually still winning fights. He wasn't traditionally good. He was just so awkward that you don't expect it. Yeah. And sometimes awkward is better than good. And that's Aljamain. First of all, he's my height almost. I'm 5'10", 5'10 and a half. He's maybe 5'9", 5'10". Wow. He probably closer to 5'9", but he has probably a 72, 73, 74 inch reach, which I have a 74 inch reach and I'm 5'10". Like that is a long reach for a bantamweight. His wrestling is great. His back takes are great. His cardio is great. His awkwardness is great. His striking he is hittable, but he's also in the weird way, like he limits damage. Then you have Sean O'Malley, who has a rhythm to him. One thing, Eddie Cha, who, is our striking coach over at Fight Ready, trained with Sean for, a while. And he said the one thing that he has is, and he explains it as this twitchy fastness about him, where when he feints and goes, like, you're just like he can freeze you in your tracks. And the way that he feints and moves, and he'll feint and draw you in and then counter. His timing and his distance and his reads are phenomenal. Honestly, that's where I think he shines, is his feints and drawing people in. His ability to pull people into a fight is great. He's long and he's rangy and he switches stances. The issue here that he's going to run into is the wrestling of Aljo. And we saw it with Peter Yan when Peter Yan got too fixated on a brawl.
Yep.
And against somebody that much bigger than him. But when Peter Yan wanted to wrestle, he was able to wrestle with somewhat relative ease, being 5 inches smaller than like a guy like Aljamain. I really like Sean here, but I can't, just seeing everything that I've seen with Aljamain. He got knocked out. We saw him get knocked out against Marlon Moraes a long time ago, quick, fast knockout. Other than that, he's a Dreykus Duplessis to me. I've always bet against him. I've always talked about how awkward he is and how somebody's going to take advantage of him, and he just keeps winning. And I've got to assume that he is just going to find a way to win this fight. What's your thought on that?
I'm going to go the other way. I understand what everybody's saying. The back takes and the wrestling is certainly something. Again, he's another guy that's got very good jiu-jitsu to complement. I don't know that his wrestling is very good wrestling. He's funk master. He's funky, grimy. Like, you look at a traditional wrestler, he's not an amazing traditional wrestler, never was in college, never was coming up, but he's funky, and sometimes funky is more effective, right? You think him and Henry are going to line up on a wrestling mat and he's going to take down Henry ever?
Not at all.
Not a chance.
But on a cage,
with strikes and everything, he's funky. So guys, don't get that comment confused. He's just the funk master for a reason. But traditional wrestling, how many times was he shooting from halfway across the cage on Peter Yan in the first fight and getting stuffed out and looking awful? One thing I will say about Sean too is he's a smart guy.
He is.
He's a lot smarter than people give him credit for. And you can tell just by his interviews, the way that he talks. He studies film. He knows his opponent. He's not as meathead and flash and don't care as he pretends to be. The guy is very intellectual. And he thinks about everything and he has a process. The feints is what's it for me. Exactly what you said. He freezes guys and he keeps everything in front of him. He sees what's coming from a mile away. Now, where I think the big difference is between Peter Yan and Aljo. Aljo's striking is awkward, but it's not good, not traditionally good.
And he doesn't hurt people with it.
With Henry, I think Henry took so much time trying to figure out what was coming on him. And he's a lot bigger than Henry.
And Henry was coming off years layoff.
And Henry's very traditional, just kind of like boxing, karate, weird style, but he doesn't make a lot of good reads. And he's not the striker that Sean is, I believe, in my opinion. Sean sets traps, keeps things in front of him. And the thing with Peter Yan is Peter Yan was able to work inside because he doesn't care about Sean.
Yep.
His head movement's good enough. He would, slip a punch and then slip and rip. And he was closing that distance on Sean, but that's not something a lot of guys like to do. And even Aljo in the Henry fight, he didn't close distance a lot. He was trying as hard as he could to stay on the outside until it was time to wrestle. And then he was still shooting from so far. On a guy that controls range as good as Sean O'Malley does, and the feints and the lateral movement, I think that's going to give Aljo a lot of trouble working his way in. Now, once he gets a hold of Sean, things are going to get a little bit different. But I think people underrate Sean's grappling. It's a lot better.
I think his jiu-jitsu is good. I think he actually has really good jiu-jitsu.
As long as he has the awareness to not get submitted from the back, I think the more and more that he makes Aljo work, and because he's taller, it changes the way you have to wrestle too. Aljo with Henry, yes, Henry is a Olympic gold medalist wrestler, but he's not an Olympic gold medalist cage wrestler.
And you get your hands locked against
small.
a shorter opponent.
Yeah.
You only have to lift 2 inches to get him off the ground. Sean O'Malley, we always talk about tall guy defense. lifting and lifting and lifting, and a leg is still on the ground.
Yes. Henry's an upside down pyramid, but his hips are small. And with Aljo's long arms, he's able to lock that. With Sean, if Sean spreads wide, now it's different. Now you have to run single legs. Now you have to redirect. You have to chain wrestle. And that's a lot more tiring than just pressing someone and grabbing and lifting. Man, I think the size, the feints, honestly, the fight IQ of Sean is going to give Aljo a lot of issues. Now, he looked like fresh all 5 rounds against Henry, which was crazy. EPO Aljo. He hasn't looked like that before.
I was shocked at how good his cardio was going into that 4th and 5th round.
I was expecting Henry to take over rounds 4 and 5 and just put it on. And honestly, to a certain point, he did. He really did put it on him a few times. But man, Sean doesn't slow down. Sean has good fight IQ. He's so long and presents so many different challenges. I think that Aljo's going to have to move up to 145 off a loss here. I like Sean O'Malley.
Man, I hope so. I hope that happens. I want to jump ship, you guys. I want to do it.
Just do it. Arizona.
It's there. It's like there's your ship. There's my ship. I just got to hop on. I'm in. All
right, Sean O'Malley.
I'll jump in the Sean O'Malley train. I'll jump in the ship. I want to go. All right, you guys, that is it. That's all we got from the new studio. We've got Cole back, who actually left because he had to take a phone call. What a lame ass is that? Like, wow. How can we fire him again?
Yeah, he's fired. I'll turn this off. I'll end this show.
Yeah, we'll end this right now, you guys. Happy betting. We'll see you next time.